So 1 hour before the show at Hellfest, the second one when we were headlining, Joachim comes in and is like, "My voice is fucked. You have to sing." It's like, "Say what?" Oh, fuck.
Started in 1999, Sabaton are a Swedish power metal band, for lack of a better word, focused on military history, with 9 studio albums already out and with plenty of headlining world tours already under their belt. The band is getting ready to release its latest musical attack in the form of The War to End All Wars, their 10th studio album, and the second that focuses exclusively on the First World War. Guitarist Chris Rörland joined Sabaton in 2012, and he joins me today. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I start every interview the same way in the last couple of years, right? Because the situation has been pretty rough for people. So I just want to know, How are you and how is your family, man?
I'm doing good now, and my family's doing good. 1 year ago, I got COVID as well, the really bad one. So I went through that shit, and it was a little bit a tough time, for 1 week, 2 weeks. But after that, it was quite okay. I lost my sense of smell for 4 months, but I got it back now. So, but now I'm doing fine. I'm out walking, exercising, getting fit for the tour,
I can imagine that, especially for a musician, the time must have been challenging, because I get that you get a lot from just performing live, right? To just seeing the fans and seeing how they react to you. I'm a concert photographer, so I usually see you pretty close when I have covered Sabaton shows, and you always seem pretty pumped to be there, pretty excited, pretty happy to be interacting with the fans. So I am guessing that you must have missed that a lot.
A lot, absolutely. I miss it every day. I'm sitting here in my studio trying to rehearse some songs, hoping that we can go back on tour soon. But, new restrictions come here and there all the time. So now everything got canceled again. So hopefully we can move it a little bit further, and then maybe something starts to add up again and we can go out on tour, hopefully. It is a nightmare because people have been, looking forward to that specific date, and then they probably had their vacation from work and everything they saved up to just go to that show, and then it gets moved, and then they might not be able to go there, so it is a hassle, but we have to stay positive. We have to try to move what the government are saying, and try to move it and do the best of the situation.
Now on the positive side, unlike other bands, you have been able to play a few shows this time, and last year you even headlined Exit in Serbia, a country that is pretty significant, has a pretty significant Sabaton fan base. I've spoken with Par about it. Apparently some of the early Sabaton fans were even coming out of Serbia. You have now, even in the new album, there is a new song that also deals with Serbian women in this case. How was that experience for you? Not just playing in Serbia, but rather being able to again be at a festival of that magnitude and playing with those people?
It was amazing to get back. It was kind of surreal feeling, is this really happening? Or are they going to cancel it at the last minute, because we went down there when we rehearsed for 3 days in Serbia on spot. With the whole gear and everything. So we were there and we were like, please, 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 please do not cancel this now. I hope this is going to happen. And then we get to the festival side. We see all the crazy fans there. It's just everything starts to build up, and then it can't be true. It can't be true. We can't play a show, they're going to cancel it, Then we get stage clothes on, but please, please. But and then you finally get on stage and you see the smiles of so many people. They've been home for 1 year, 2 years, in lockdown, and to see their faces again, it was amazing. I think everybody was crying on stage, and it was such an amazing feeling,
I can imagine. I mean, last year, before things closed down again, we had some shows in the Netherlands, and I was covering, I think it was Marduk, so black metal show. And at the end, it was sitting down, which is a bizarre experience for a black metal show. But at the end, I guess on the encore, people said, fuck it. And I'm not advising it necessarily, but people stood up and everybody got together. And I was there with my camera, and it was such a... It made you realize how many things we took for granted when things worked out. It was such a beautiful experience to just see one of the things that probably attracted you to heavy metal as well, which is just to see the happiness and the power that it seems to bring on the people there.
Yeah, it is. It is powerful, and it's so nice to see, to be able to move so many people and you know, touch so many people in such a good way, and people that have a rough time home, they listen to our music, they get happy again, and it's a wonderful feeling, you know, to stand on stage and just to entertain, you know.
Speaking of entertainment, something that is interesting about Sabaton is that you don't make childish music. I don't see it at all. I like it a lot. I'm in my 30s and I like it a lot. But it has had a pretty multi-generational appeal. There are a lot of young people who are really into Sabaton. I'm always fascinated because whenever I, for example, share some of the photos that I've taken of your shows, they are usually liked by a plethora of meme pages, you know, that like 14, 13-year-old children make for the band. In fact, today I saw that there is even a Facebook page called Chris Rörland's Hair. So there's just it has like 1,400 fans. So a lot of people seem to like it. So how has it been for you to see, especially as you are growing? I'm not calling you old, but growing older, to see that you have this appeal to such young people.
Well, it's fun, you know. It's so much fun to see that many people care so much, and then I mean, we're so into this meme thing that we're not like, oh, fuck that shit, make more memes. I mean, we love it. We laugh and we show each other in the band. Yeah, I've seen this shit, man. So I love it, actually. It's quite fun. And then my fan page showed up about my hair, and it's, you know, it's just fun. It's just great fun to see.
I take it you don't take care of your hair especially, right? Like there is nothing that any secret about your hair that you want to share with your fans.
No, it's just regular shampoo, and there's no secret.
Wish your hair were longer? Then grow it stronger. Get up to 10 times stronger hair with Garnier Fructis Grow Strong.
The War to End All Wars, your new album, your what is it, 10th studio album, is coming out now in March, and it focuses again on the First World War, like you did in The Great War, your previous album from 2019. What brought you back to this very interesting topic?
I mean, the First World War, it was so dark, it was horrible, you know, and why we actually went back was because we had so much fun writing the Great War album, and there were so many stories that we couldn't really tell or we couldn't get on the album, you know. And then we did the first European tour, and then COVID happened, so everything got cut down. So it felt like that album just went, you know, like that, and the tour went like that, and we didn't really have everything we wanted to give for that whole experience of that album. So we felt like, let's write another album, like a continuation of that era, and focusing on the songs that we couldn't bring to the Great War album, and hopefully we can have some more fun with this one.
Tell me a little bit about the making of this album. The band has traditionally taken suggestions from fans in regards to what to cover, but you're also working on Sabaton history. I think it's Indy, you're the historian with whom you work. So to the best of your knowledge, because I know that I think, again, Part tends to be in charge of that part. How was the writing process, first in the part that affects you musically, but also lyrically? I'm quite fascinated by how Sabaton albums come together.
Musically, we usually sit down, me and Joachim, and see if he has any ideas or if I have any ideas, and we work very well together. We can get like that, and we can be friends. You know, it's such a good mixture when we sit down. And I can say at home, I write songs from home, but mostly I'm into the music part. of the songs. And lyrically, it's more Per and Joachim, or it has always been Per and Joachim, because they are the historians of the band. We're not as involved in that, you know. I don't know so much about history. I learned from Sabaton songs, you know, and but it's a fun mixture. We for this album, I was very involved in the songwriting, so I think 5 songs on this album I'm involved in. So it's quite a lot from the previous albums.
You mean you were involved in the music writing of the?
Yeah.
So do you feel that is? But in the previous albums, for example, did you have more ideas rejected, or was it how did it end up being that you had a bigger role in this case?
I think it was COVID, actually, because just sitting home writing stuff, and usually when we write albums, there's such a short amount of time, and then we have to go into the studio, so there's not so much time we can actually do things. And for like The Last Stand, I wrote the title track. And for the Great War album, I wrote 3 songs, which is 7 Pillars of Wisdom, Attack of the Dead Man, and 82nd All the Way. Yeah, we have a little bit more time there. And then COVID hit, and we got in lockdown. We were actually in Russia, and then we flew back home. So me, Joachim, and our drum tech, we went to Falun, where our headquarters is, and we got in there for 2 weeks. We didn't want to go home to our families because we didn't know if we catch the virus or not. So we got into lockdown for 2 weeks in the warehouse, and there were some heavily drinking involved, and playing PlayStation, and just having a good time, you know, with each other. Then me and Joachim started talking like, maybe we should sit down a few days and just see what comes up. And then we started writing a little bit, and the Royal Guard came up. And then we started writing on like a few other songs, and then it got to a few more songs. And then we sat down after 1 year, I think. We sat down again when everything was quite okay to go out, you know, with people. And so Joachim came to Fallen. We sat down again, and we just, everything just came out of us, you know. It just felt natural, and it felt so much fun to sit down again and write songs. So everything just came naturally. So there was so much, it didn't even, because usually we write songs and then, oh, that's a cool one. And then we take all of those songs and it's like, oh, that doesn't really fit into this one. And then we, like that.
I think that there is a misconception that fans have, and I certainly had it before I learned more about it, that songs kind of start already finished, in the sense that it's like, hey, I'm going to write a song about, I don't know, the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, and and this is how it's gonna sound, but it's actually way longer than that. So can you tell me a little bit how it is? So you come with a melody, and then Joachim says, well, I have this idea about this topic, maybe we can make it work. How does it work?
It works like this. For us, we always write the music first. We don't have a topic. We know which era we're gonna cover, but we don't know the actual song. That comes later. So we start with, I have a guitar riff that sounds cool, you know, and then Joachim gets into that, like, oh, that's cool. Maybe we can do this and this and this. And then he comes with probably a melody, and I come with a vocal line, and then we write the whole song. So it's like from start to finish with all the vocal lines and everything, like how it's gonna sound like. And then when all the songs are done, Per and Joachim starts to like research, like, what can we cover on this album, and then they start to fit in the lyrics on that song.
I've spoken at length with Per and Joachim in the past, and one of the things that are very interesting is that it's a pretty hard-working band. I mean, at least when I've spoken with Per, he would, even when I met him the first time, I think it was pretty early in the career, he said, well, this is what we're planning for 2 years from now, and then 3 years from now, so that he has a pretty industrialized, let's say, version of running the band. And I think for every musician who joins a band, there is that moment from where it goes from a thing that I do for fun to a thing that I do for a job, and that I have to take it seriously, and that I cannot dick around anymore.
Exactly,
how did that change come to you?
In the beginning, it was all, it was all fun when I came into the band. We just went from, meeting the guys to 2 weeks of rehearsing. Then we went on our first US tour in 2012. And then it was just, party, so much fun, as you are when you're a kid. I was at 25. So it was quite fun. And then after that tour, you slowly get into this motion that this is a huge ship, everybody has to help if this is gonna work. But it went kind of quickly, I'd say. Yeah.
Because it is, you're right. I mean, it is huge. It is a board game, a cruise, video games, albums, history, and now music history. I see that they're also doing videos on music bands like Judas Priest, etc.
Yeah.
This is kind of a strange question, but I've asked it of a number of musicians who kind of reach your level or higher. When did you kind of realize, or what made you realize, wow, we're pretty big?
Whoa. I think when I knew Sabaton since before. I knew it was a growing band. They were quite big, and then I joined the band, and we did the US tour, which was very small. It was probably 20 people at every show, but we did that tour, and when we came back to Europe, we were playing a festival called Woodstock in Poland. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a regular festival. I never heard of it before. So we get there, and it was like, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. And then we get to the site, and we see the day sheet of the day, and it says capacity 1 million people. Holy shit! And we were headlining it. So then you start to realize, oh shit, it's getting really big now. And then it just went from like that, doing tours with Iron Maiden, and headlining Wacken with both stages, and it's amazing. And still I don't really realize how big the band is. It's my friends. Yeah. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like I don't know. I'm just a small kid, from the woods up in the north. So yeah.
You joined the band at a pretty difficult time, right? 3/4 of the band had just left. Some of them went on to create what ended up being Civil War. And I think most bands struggle when they got such a significant part of the creative force behind it leave. Of course, that was not the case with Sabaton. How did you get to Sabaton? Did you know them from before, or?
Yeah, because I was playing in another band from Sweden called Nocturnal Rites. It's a power metal band, a little bit more proggy stuff. And when I was playing in that band, we played on the Sabaton cruise, and we played on some festival as well. That's how I got to know the guys in Sabaton, and we started talking a little bit, and got a little bit of friends, and had a drink here and there. And then we played a headline show in Umeå with my old band, and Per was there. Just to check out the festival and and we start talking, and it was like, oh, it was so long ago since I met you, man. How are you? And he's like, everything's good, Didn't say anything about the split up. So I was like, oh, cool, man. We're have fun at the US tour. He's like, yeah. But afterwards, I get to hear that he was actually there to check me out and talk to me. But he got a little bit tipsy, and he was a little bit drunk. So he's like, oh, I'm not going to take this now. So he called me the day after. It's like, hi, it's Per, man. It's like, oh, okay, hey, man. And then he told me the whole story about the band, and he asked me if I wanted to join the band and come down to meet Per and Joachim to have a dinner and a talk and see what happens, And I flew down. Met the Joachim and Per, and we had maybe 1 hour or something at Arlanda airport before they had to go to Germany at the Nuclear Blast office and produce the new Carolus Rex album. So it was kind of quick, So we had 1 hour, sat down and talked for a little bit, and they were like, yeah, fuck yeah, if you're in, yeah, you want to be in the band, you're in,
What did you
So
think at the time? What do you think it was going to amount to? You certainly didn't think that it was going to get to be what it is now, I assume.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, but I felt like, yeah, but sure, I can be in both bands. You know, I'm gonna do more Sabaton shows than like Nocturnal Rites, but sure, I can do both bands. It's not gonna be any difficulty. Yeah, right. So, but after 1 year, I realized it's impossible to do two bands. It's too much time. You know, we're always away, and they're gonna, you know, collide with each other. So I had to say bye bye to the other guys.
speaking of
Unfortunately.
saying bye bye, I think that one of the big challenges, of course, for touring musicians is being away from home for a long time.
Yeah.
You've had this period now with COVID that has forced you to be at home, but certainly now, if things were to reopen, I think Sabaton and many other bands are just going to be on tour for the foreseeable future, right?
Yeah.
Has that been a very big, before of course COVID, was that a very big challenge to suddenly realize that a big part of your life needs to be spent on the road?
It was in the beginning. You got a little bit stressed out, not in the beginning because it was so much fun, you know. But then you really get into it, and it's like, oh, it's a heavy machine. You have to be here. Then you start to get a little bit nervous or like stressed out. Like I'm not gonna be able to see my parents, my girlfriend, my family, you know, for a while. And but thank God we're living in the 2000s. You know, there's phones and everything now. So just imagine the 80s. Oh my God. So I understand now why they took so much drugs and alcohol and hotel rooms and
I don't. To be fair, I don't think that the lack of Skype was the reason why people were doing boatloads of cocaine.
Yeah.
I think people just like cocaine. I have seen Sabaton perform live many times, but there was one that was very interesting for me. I was covering Hellfest in 2019, and you headlined one evening, and the following night or couple of nights later, I can't remember exactly, Manowar was going to be the headliner.
Yeah.
But Manowar canceled that morning, and suddenly in the evening, Sabaton is there performing again. Joachim basically cannot speak. You know, he has almost no voice left. It was Tommy did a lot of the lyrics. So tell me about that show, because it seemed like it was a pretty crazy experience.
It was a crazy experience because we didn't headline the first few days we were there. We played early in the afternoon, I think, maybe 5 or something like that. And then we were staying there for 2 days to do the media press and everything, interviews. So we were already there for 2 days. And then absolutely, because everybody in the band is a huge Manowar fan, and I was really looking forward to seeing them live. You know, I've never seen Manowar live. I was like, fuck yeah, it's gonna be so much fun. And then we get during the day then to hear that Manowar is canceling. I was like, okay, that sucks. Okay, what do we do then? And we just keep them. We do the press and then we leave. And then Hellfest came to us and asked us, do you want to take their slot? Because you got really good response from the audience. And we were like, okay, we're going to replace Manowar now. People are going to get so angry, you know. And we were like, okay, sure, we can do it. Absolutely. No worries. We can do a 2-hour set. Fuck. So we said yes. And then Joachim comes. He's like, my voice is fucked. Because he had a small virus like the 2 days before when he started singing. It felt like something is broken, you know, but I can do the show, and then we have like 3 days of, you know, just rest, and then we do the next show. But he fucked up his voice so bad. So 1 hour before the show at Hellfest, the second one when we're headlining, Joachim comes in and is like, my voice is fucked. You have to sing. It's like, say what? Oh, fuck. So I was like, no. I've never been so nervous in my whole life. So me and Tommy split the whole set list. It was like, Tommy, do you know that song? Do you know that song? Do you know that song? I know this song, I know that song. And then we started printing all the lyrics. And we just went through the whole show, me and Tommy, singing, splitting every song, you know. So it was really tough, you know, and especially sure we can do guitar parts and we can do the harmonies on the chorus, but there's so many different difficult stuff when you're playing, and then do the whole vocal stuff at the same time. That takes a lot of practice to do that. So, but it fucked us up so much. So we were just standing by the, you know, microphone. We couldn't fucking move because we have to play and we have to hear what we were singing. And then somebody had to come out with the lyric shit and holding it in front of us like, because we don't know all the lyrics.
And this was on the same day, right? I mean,
it was on the same day.
That's when you were told, can you do it tonight?
Yeah.
Now I don't remember it exactly. You have to forgive me, but did you have your entire stage for that second night? So the tank and everything?
No, we didn't have the tank or anything because we played 2 days earlier and we had a small set. So and now we got to play the big stage. So we didn't have so much. We just bought everything out that we brought, you know. But we didn't have the tank or anything like that. Or did we? Can't remember. I was so nervous.
Me neither.
I was so nervous. I was just concentrating on to do the lyrics. But it is hard. It is really hard to do that. You have to practice. You can't just go up and then start singing because when I do that, you have to do that and then you do that. Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, obviously, to suddenly be told, well, you guys are going to play, okay, you're going to do this thing that you never do, and you have to do it in like 8 hours. It sounds like a gigantic challenge.
Yeah, it totally was. So let's hope we never have to do that again. But it was fun. You know? Afterwards, everybody was so happy. Hellfest got so happy that we did this. And it's a shame that we didn't get to see Manowar. I really wanted to see Manowar, actually.
Yeah, me too, and I think that the mystery still continues, at least outside of Hellfest, as to why that cancellation happened. Yeah. So we are still curious as to that. You know, obviously we mentioned a little bit of the issue of the challenges of touring when you have become more famous. What other challenges have come for you as a result of the growth of Sabaton, besides, of course, having to sometimes cover for Joachim?
Well, the pressure of performing every night 100%. That's the most I would say, because you know, for us, you get into work mode. Every night is the same, you know, almost. It feels like that. It's a work mode. You get in, you put your clothes on, you play a show. But you have to think about, there's people that have been waiting for that specific date for 1 year, and they're so excited. And if you go up there and you fuck it up or forget the songs and just you know, get too drunk. We'd never drink before a show. We don't get drunk, but you know, if somebody gets too drunk or blah 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 blah, it will fuck them up. It will feels like it feels like they have been ripped off, you know. I didn't come to see this shit, you know. That's the pressure we have to live with, that we have to be in shape. We have to deliver every night. And that's the pressure that's put on you. That's the most, you know.
How physically demanding is it for you to play an entire show? Because when I started playing music, I do not play at any level even remotely close to yours, so I'm not trying to compare, but it was surprising to me when I started to play guitar just how tiring it can be to just stand up and move around, etc.
Yeah.
So I imagine that for you, to the level of Sabaton, the length of your shows, it's a workout, right? I mean, it's extremely tiring.
Absolutely. It is a workout. That's why we're everybody has been quite a bit of lazy the last few years, because I mean, touring isn't like staying in a hotel, eating really good food, you know, nutritious food. It's eating junk food, staying on a bus, don't sleep, you know, and we used to be very like workout, you know, and the last few years everybody's like, fuck it, you know. And I gained so much pounds now, but I'm getting back into it now. I'm working out quite a lot. I'm exercising, and so I'm gonna get back to it. But as you said, it's a workout. It's a 2-hour show. You have to deliver. And there's not just us on stage. There are pyros that get so hot. There's big booms and everything. We have to run around. We have to remember the songs, headbang. So yeah, it's quite a lot of challenges. But yeah.
You mentioned this thing of realizing that when you perform for the audience, they obviously have been waiting for a long time, and you owe it to deliver a good performance. When did you realize, or how did you realize that, well, you and the band actually mean so much to the fans? Because again, one of the things that I've noticed as a result of encountering these fan groups and things like that for Sabaton is that you mean a lot to a lot of fans. Like it is a kind of, I mean, the kind of love that I felt, I guess, for bands when I was, 16, 15 years old. It's pretty, it's very cute. It's a nice thing. It's kind of how you discover music. But how did you realize, and how does it feel to see that it is something so meaningful to them?
I realized it very quick when I joined the band. I saw that everybody was just shouting the lyrics, when we came back to Sweden. And that's when I saw that, oh shit, they have a huge following in Sweden, because we played Sweden Rock when we came back from that US tour. And you see that everybody's so passionate, I can almost, like our fans is equal to Iron Maiden fans, because they're so loyal. Everybody's there, everybody's crying, to see us, and it's so beautiful to see that. I adore it, and for me, that's the best feeling in the world, that I can make somebody that happy with what I do. So I hope we can go back on tour.
To kind of close the interview, last year Sabaton was going to collaborate with the Swedish Armed Forces with the song Livgardet, probably wrongly pronounced. But this, excellent.
Very good.
I fake it till I make it. Great. But this was stopped by the Swedish Armed Forces because of Sabaton's performance in occupied Crimea at a show organized by what ended up being Russian collaborators. As you certainly know, tensions are now pretty high in the region. I am not going to ask you a political or geopolitical question. Don't worry, it's not that. Like, what do you think about what is happening in Ukraine? It's not that. But there is a real possibility of an actual military conflict in European soil by the possibility of Russian aggression against Ukraine. Considering the backlash that existed from the Swedish armed forces, considering that Sabaton should not have performed in occupied Crimea, an area that is under boycott and sanctions because it's occupied territory, do you regret that show? Do you think that maybe it shouldn't have been done?
No, actually, I mean, I don't care about political stuff. I care about the fans, and we got there to play for our fans because there were so much fans over there that looking forward to see us. And if we don't go there, that's a more political stand from our point of view. Like, oh, now we're not going to play there. Then we take a political stand. If we go there, we play there, we'd be there for our fans. Then all the political stuff can fuck off. I hate it.
Yeah, so, fair enough.
Yeah.
And what is now in the horizon for Sabaton?
Hopefully getting back on tour soon. Now we have a bunch of things planned. We're working every day here now, even though we're staying home. We're having Skype calls with each other, talking with Per and everything, and deciding releases and stuff and merchandise. And there's so much stuff. And also we're going to go to Falun now to write some music even more. So there's a lot of things to do.
You're going back to write music?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, it is true. Okay. Yeah. Chris, it has been really a pleasure to meet you and to speak with you today. Thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to finally seeing you all on tour very soon.
Absolutely. Me too, man.
Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Take care, man. Bye.
Your office looks exactly like my bedroom did when I was about 14, so it is excellent.
Okay.